Hello punters and welcome back to another Saturday racing preview. Of course, in this video looking at the Flemington meeting tomorrow, obviously Aurie Star Handicap Day, so really starting to launch into spring now. We're getting a few good group racing, obviously some very nice racing at Rosehill as well, so we'll be getting stuck into that in the next video. So if you're keen to have a play at Rosehill tomorrow, or you're interested in the meeting, make sure you go and check that out. Of course, after this video, if you are obviously interested in this Flemington card here, obviously it's a very nice card. We're getting some good horses returning to the track now in preparation for their spring carnival campaign, so we're really looking forward to it. Massive meeting on the weekend, plenty of winners to be found. As always, if you haven't already done so, go and check out my social media platforms where all these tips will be posted, plus other tips as well during the week. I do post daily tips for every single racetrack in Victoria, so all the Victorian meetings, and then often I'll have a bit of a play around the country, and also a couple of feature meetings in New South Wales throughout the week as well. So keep an eye on that. It's C-Lane_Racing Tips on Facebook, and it's C-Lane Racing Tips on Facebook. So go and check those out if you haven't already done so. If you're new here, please feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate the subscription, and also go comment and like on the video. Leave a comment on any of your thoughts ahead of tomorrow's racing. Let me know if there's anything that you like, if there's anything that you, I guess, enjoy, or anything that I pick up on or I perhaps miss. So make sure you point it out, and we'll have a good discussion in the comments. I always enjoy doing that every week. So without further ado, we're going to get straight into the race. First race on the program tomorrow at Flemington. It's a 2,530 metre race, looking at the tab handicap. And just the couple of horses to go around in this race here. So we've got 7 of them to go around. Look at the speed map for this race here. I'd suggest that Home by Midnight will probably roll to the front from the inside barrier. I think Exemplar will probably be the other one that'll try and push out from the wide barrier and roll forward. I think the rest of them would probably try and settle in behind, find a spot. I think Burt Whistle and South Pacific might be the 2 pairs behind the leaders, with the likes of WT, who will go towards the back, as will Blandford Lad. Look, I couldn't go past South Pacific here. I thought this horse is going to be quite hard to beat here, third up. Obviously, it was a really nice third last time out of 2,800 metres at Flemington. Finished third on that occasion behind Exemplar and Cinder Win, but I think it can I think it can turn the tables here. If we're having a look at the Exemplar last start, obviously carried the 56 kilos, goes up half a kilo. South Pacific comes down from 59 down to 57.5, so I think that'll be enough to turn the tables on Exemplar here. Damien Oliver obviously in the saddle. Third up, I think it's going to be rock hard fit by now, and I don't really mind it going from 2,800 back to the 2005. I think it might have been just a fitness run last start, and it'd be ready to go here, and I think it'll be hard to beat. So South Pacific goes on top for me. Looks to get a perfect running behind the speed. I think I've got to go with Exemplar in for second. I still think that despite the weight swing, this horse ran really well last start, and you've got to respect that. And the fact that he's going around at $7 compared to South Pacific 220, there is obviously a little bit of a difference in price there, and I'm not quite sure that is exactly representative of the last start. I know that they're getting the weight swing. South Pacific's third up, whereas Exemplar's deep into its preparation. So you can see that South Pacific will improve, and perhaps that's why you get the 2020. But still think Exemplar is great value at the $7. Think it's got a good chance to win. WT has been pretty unlucky, really. It's been well supported. It's been a hard horse for the punters to follow the last couple of starts, and last start was one of them where it finished third. Kind of rattled home by Maha Amadeus and Sasco, and came from a long way back on that occasion, and obviously we've seen that form be franked. Maha Amadeus winning last week at Moonee Valley again, so form is decent around WT. Obviously gets another chance here. We'll get obviously the long Flemington straight, which last time he was here at Flemington, he did struggle, finish 10th on that occasion, so be interested to see if he can finally put it together. And he was paying $4.40, not a bad price. Blandford Lad's well overs for me. This horse in terrific form, absolutely flying at the moment. Last 2 starts been terrific, both at Sandown and Bendigo. The last start at Sandown was enormous. Was very keen on that day, and he absolutely motored down the outside. He was very good. He's in good form. Doesn't mind a wet track, so that's what we look like we're getting tomorrow. At the moment, the conditions are soft 6. I think that this horse can be a real big chance in a small field to round him up. And obviously Will Price, being the saddle, brings it right down to 53 kilos. So right at the bottom of the weights, he's definitely got a good chance. But look, I've landed with South Pacific. I think he's the improver. He's got plenty of progression. I think he's going to show what he's made of third up here, and he's going to be hard to beat. 220 is a very short price, so I'm hoping that by tomorrow he might drift out a little bit. So if you're planning on betting, I'd probably just leave it a little bit. maybe keep an eye on the market. So I don't think the punters will come too strongly for him. There is a couple others in the race that, like I said, I can mention. I think WT will probably chime in. A lot of punters have jumped into him in the last couple of starts, so he might tighten up. And I think a few will come at Blandford Lad at the odds. So maybe hold off on South Pacific. See if you can get around that sort of 250, 260 plus mark tomorrow. Well, fingers crossed for that. Second in for me, number 5, Exemplar. In for third, number 3, WT. And in for fourth, number 8, Blandford Lad. Moving on to race number 2 on the program now. It's a 1410 metre race over the benchmark 70. Look at the speed map for this race here. I think that we'll probably see a decent amount of pace here. Big day out from barrier number 3 will probably roll forward. Galactic Fury usually likes to get forward. Diesel and Dust usually likes to be up there as well. And Shamzoo also. So obviously there'll be a few of these up contesting the speed. I do think that one of them being Diesel and Dust will be hard to beat here. This horse is coming back off a 7-day backup. Obviously ran last week at Moonee Valley. Was only narrowly beaten by Hard Landing there, and it was only beaten late in the piece. So it was a really good run, and I was very impressed with that performance. And I think that he, off the 7-day backup, can return the winner's stall here and win again. I think that was a terrific run. He's obviously well proven now on soft ground, so he gets that again here tomorrow more than likely. I think he'll be quite hard to beat. Ben Mellon in the saddle. I think he's just going to get a perfect run in behind the speed. Josh, I expect him to drop in behind with those horses on the inside barriers, obviously looking to roll forward. So I think he'll drop in behind. And I think it can be quite hard to beat the $3.40. So he goes on top for me. Out of number 2, Galactic Fury, who's really knocking on the door for a win. He's been terrific his last couple of starts. He was a nice second last time out at Caulfield behind Flinders River. A little bit unsure on that form line. Flinders River obviously has always promised a fair bit, but hasn't really gone with it. But it was good to see him win first up last a couple of weeks ago. But prior to that, he finished second to Nevaez, and Nevaez hasn't really gone with it either. So not 100% sure on Galactic Fury's form, but look, I've got to concede he's getting close to a win and he's running well. So definitely a good chance at $3.50. He goes in for second for me. In for third, number 5, the Prez. A little bit of value here. This horse ran really well first up at Warrnambool on heavy track. He's a long striding horse. He really likes to wind up and get his time to get through his gears, and he's going to get that at Flemington. Obviously a big long straight for him to get into his work and wind up, and the fact he's got that win on a heavy track does tick off a bit here that he has handled the wet track before. He's paying $17. He's massively over the odds for me. I thought he was really good last time out. Obviously he's got to step up from a maiden now to obviously a stronger grade race and a benchmark 70, but I think he can do it. I think he's got a good chance. And obviously the favourite, Yes Baby Yes, I also put him on top 4 here. Was really good winning at Seymour last time out. Beat Fluorescent Star there. I think that was a very strong win. That was obviously 3.5 length win there on that occasion, but very similarly to the Prez, got to step out now from the maiden victory up to benchmark 70. I think a little bit unders in the market for me at the $12.80 about Yes Baby Yes, but I do see it's got some ability. Recap the numbers for me. I'm very keen on number 1, Diesel and Dust on top for me, ahead of number 2, Galactic Fury in for second. In for third, number 5, the Prez, and in for fourth, number 6, Yes Baby Yes. Moving on to race number 3 on the program now, and we've got the Grinders Coffee Roasters benchmark 70 over 800 metres. 8 horses to compete in this race here. Looking at the speed map, I'd suggest that Flinders River, obviously we'll get a bit of a guide on this horse's form in the previous race. Royal Philly will also be up towards the pace, so I'd suggest Ruber and Cafe Rizzo. I expect them to sort of tuck in behind the speed, be that pair behind the leaders. And then the likes of Token Spirit, we're not too sure how it's going to come out. Obviously, didn't really come out last start, so I'd suggest it might be towards the back. And Frank and Two Angels will probably roll towards the back like it did last time out, possibly get towards midfield. Looking at this race here, look, I'm pretty keen on Royal Philly here. I think this horse got a lot of upside. Obviously, 3-year-old Bay Filly by Piero out of Royal Conspiracy. Really well bred, and this horse was terrific first up, winning at Pakenham on the synthetic track, beat Bishop Rock on that occasion. I was really impressed with that win, the way she got sort of tracked into the race. She was just flowing so nicely in her stride. She was really good, and she just got out, peeled, and when she was asked to go, she quickened really quickly. So that was really impressive for me, and in the end was quite a soft win. So I think this horse could go on with it here, and it can win at the $4. So I'm going to go with her on top. Ahead of number 1, Flinders River, who obviously won really well last time out. Has to carry a bit of weight this time. Obviously, Will Price's 3-kilo claim does take a little bit off. Brings with 62 down to 59. So, he was really good last time out, beating Galactic Fury. Like I said, we'll get a little bit of a guide on that form line with Galactic Fury going around in the previous race. So we'll obviously keep an eye on that. Obviously, the punters will come for him if Galactic Fury salutes. So got to keep an eye on that. Look, I think he's always had a fair bit of talent. Obviously, he's by Fighting Sun, and expect he's going to stretch out over this 800 meters just perfectly. So I think he'll be hard to beat as well. He is the definite danger to my top selection in Royal Philly. In for second, in for third, number two, Frankie Two Angels, who was terrific winning at Sandown. Really, he exploded away. He was a really impressive winner there on that occasion. Lockie King gets 2 kilo claims. So similarly to Flinders River, this horse will come in at 59, so much more better at the claims. He obviously beat Ruba last time, who he meets here again. Look at the weights here. Obviously, Frankie 2 inches goes up 1.5 kg with Lockie King's 2 kilo claim, and Ruba stays at the weight. So Ruba does get a little weight swing here, but I think that Frankie 2 inches, the weight, it's had it pretty well beaten on that occasion, in my opinion, and it was first up. I think it could only be a bit more improvement out of that, so he goes for second. And in saying that, though, Ruba's got to go in there for me in for third. Obviously, it was a good run there behind, gets the weight swing on Frankie 2 Angels, so definitely could have claims to turn the tables on it. But like I said, I think that Frankie 2 Angels had something on him last start, and he got to the line pretty well, and he gets the advantage of barrier number 1, which will be a plus in this race here. But I just think Frankie 2 Angels might have that a bit of improvement off that first up run, and I think he still had something on Ruba, so Ruba goes in for third, and then in for fourth. Now I've left Cafe Rizzo out. I think she's got a lot of ability, and I was on her last time out. She obviously went round at pretty short odds in the end, $1.75. She got absolutely crunched in the betting, so keep an eye on the market for her tomorrow, because obviously a lot of those followers might chime into her again. If we do that, that might be a good guide for this. But look, I thought that she was only just fair winning that Ballarat synthetic race, because she was so strongly backed, and I don't think the field was that strong there. So I'm not 100% convinced of that performance yet, and I think 4-6 is just a little bit short about her. So, but like I said, you keep an eye on the market. They might come for her tomorrow, and if that's the case, similar to last start, it might be something you want to get on if they do come for her. But recap numbers for me, I think Royal Philly's got plenty of upside here, and I've got to have her on top. I think she'll stretch out nicely over the 800 metres. She'll be hard to beat. So she goes on top ahead of number 1, Flinders River, in for second. In for third, number 2, Frankie Two Angels, and in for fourth, number 6, Cavo Rizu. In for fourth, Ruba. Moving on to race number 4 on the program now. It's the Step Out Wines Trophy benchmark 84 over 1720 metres. Look at the speed map here. 10 horses go around to this race here. I'd say He Excels and Piso will find the front. Heavily Emperor will probably roll up towards the pace, and Reserve Street will probably tuck in behind. I think Tavi Dance from the inside barrier probably. It's a bit of a tricky barrier really with that speed map, but I think that Jamie Carr will probably roll him up to sort of tuck in maybe 2 pairs back behind the speed and hope ride for a bit of luck. It's probably his best chance by the looks of it. So, look, in saying that, I was pretty keen until he drew barrier number 1, Tavi Dance. So I've looked sort of elsewhere a bit, and I do think that Novatia here has a bit of a chance first up. I think Danny O'Brien, he's got a couple of these horses here and that have come out first up and won. So there was another one who was I believe the sister to Novatia that came out and won last week on a Friday at Geelong. Can't remember exactly what that was, but yeah, I remember seeing that and thinking, yeah, you know what, maybe he's got the form in here. And I think Novatia can do that here. Obviously, a horse that's won at the track before over 1,600 metres and comes out here over 720. So I think that we can see a good thing out of her. She's had a bit of a freshen up. She comes back, and I think she might be hard to beat here. She's run well on a wet track before, so I think $10 well over the odds about her. I think she's going to get a really good run the race and might be able to run over the top of them. So she goes on top for me ahead of number 10, Tavi Dance, who, like I said, I'm just riding for that little bit of luck. Obviously gets back onto a soft track last time out. It was on a firm track. It got beat as a $1.85 favourite. Very disappointing there, but like I said, gets back onto that wet track now where it's got 3 starts for 2 wins and a placing. So expect to see an improved performance out of him. $2.80 again, though. You got to obviously take a bit of trust in him once again, punters, if you want to go dive into him. So he goes as a second. In the third, look, I've got to go. Number 9, Reserve Street. He's a very consistent horse. He was good last time out, finishing second at Sandown behind Tavi Run. And obviously Tavi Run then came out last week at Moonee Valley and was just a really good thing beaten, really. He was rolling on the speed. They were going so fast out front. He rolled past the leader. He got to the front. It looked like he was going to win, but then he just ran out of gas and got overrun right on the line. And it was a very tough performance there. So I think the Tavi Run's going really well. So the Reserve Street was beaten by a good horse last start, and he might get a much better chance to win here tomorrow. So he goes in for third, $13, very good price about him. If you want to take him each way, definitely on the place as well. He's very reliable to run a top three finish. So I'd suggest probably going smaller the win, bigger on the place if you are keen on him. So he goes in for third for me. Then in for fourth, look, I've got number 4, Heavily Emperor, who's quite a consistent horse and obviously doesn't mind the wet conditions. It's had 11 starts for 2 wins and 4 placings. So I think he can run well enough. He can return to form. He's been around the mark the last few starts. He obviously beat Tabby Dance home last start. So look, 550 is probably a fair price. So I'm not overly keen on him. I'm very keen on my top selection though. Number 5, Novation. I think it could be very hard to beat and run a bold race first up. Under Damien Oliver. So she goes on top for me, ahead of number 10, Tabby Dancer for second. In the third, number 9, Reserve Street. And then in for fourth, I've got number 4, Heavenly Emperor. Also a little bit of a watch on Savvy Oak. Now, this horse obviously can often pop up with a big run. And I think last time I ran pretty good behind Tabby Run Reserve Street. Might be something at a bit of each way price. I think Piso is not the worst 126 to 1 shot either. I did make mention of him last time out. He was disappointing in his first run here in Australia, but he obviously gets on a wet track again, so he comes down from the heavy onto the soft track. Just think that he's a horse that ran in Group 1 races in New Zealand, and if you can return to anything close to that form, he could definitely run a place at the 126 to 1. So if you're keen on something at a bit of massive odds, he could be one that you want to follow in. But look, I am quite keen on Ovation. Race number 4, I think she'll be very hard to beat first up. She'll run a good race. Move on to race number 5 now, and it's the GH Mum Plate over the 14 and 10 metres. And pretty nice field to go around here. A couple of very smart types going around. And I think look at the speed map, Reflectivity and Laburnum will be the 2 horses that go towards the pace. Might Be Bound might roll forward. Really keen to see her obviously back at the races, but the Oaks winner. Man from Uncle and probably coming around might roll towards the pace. I won't want to get trapped too far back. So, but look, I could see Reflectivity and Laburnum leading and dictating the terms here. Look, very hard race. There's a lot of horses that obviously have a fair bit of improvement in them. And I think Coming Around, though, is the strongest of them. He was obviously very good last time out behind More Than Exceeding the Swan Hill Cup. He now comes in this second up. He's well tried. He's tried on a wet track before, 2 starts for 2 placings on a soft track. I think he's got a lot of upside, and I think he might be the one to follow here. He's at $3 at the moment, so he is quite short in a race like this. There's a lot of good talent in this race here, but I think that he's got a lot of upside, and I like what I saw first up. So he goes on top for me, ahead of number 6, Laburnum, who was on him last time out, and he finished third. He was a good, really good run there. He didn't have a whole lot of luck. He got out late, hit the line pretty well. So I think that she can run a good race again. She's very well tried on a wet track. She had 5 starts on a soft track for a win and 3 placings. So I think she'll be right around the mark, especially with that lack of speed. I think she'll be right up in the finish. So $4.20 about her, pretty fair price as well. River Delight is an interesting horse here. This one for Lindsay Smith. Comes in this second up. Obviously a horse that formerly trained and ran in Hong Kong. Was really good in its Australian debut. Finished 4th behind Morrissey and Ruben Blur. I think that's a very nice form race, and that was over 1,400. Now stretches out to the 1,700, which I think is going to be far more his distance range, and I'm really keen to see how he goes here. Very much an unknown. He's $6, and he's obviously been relatively well supported in the market. He's been pretty solid, so he's an interesting horse, and I'll be interested to see how he runs tomorrow. So he goes in for third. Then in for fourth for me, I've got number 3, Miami Bound. Obviously, she returns off a spell, the Oaks winner. She's going to be looking for a bit further, but she can definitely run well. First up here, she's very good on a soft track. She had 2 starts for 2 wins, so she gets through the going nicely. She has won first up before from 3 goes, so she has a lot of claims. $7.50 about her is a very nice price. She's obviously very good here at Flemington as well. She had 4 starts for 2 wins and 2 placings, so can make a very good claim that she'll be right in the top 3 finish as well. I have her out just because I wanted to see her first up. She was obviously disappointing last preparation first up when she finished 8th at Caulfield over 800 metres behind Adelaide Ace, so I was a little bit disappointed with her on that occasion. I want to see her, I guess, do it first before I chime into it. But definitely, if you are keen on her, there is plenty of claims there that I mentioned through some of her runs on soft tracks, heavy at Flemington, 800 metres. So there's a lot of ticks for her if you are keen to dive into her. So she goes in for fourth for me. Other horses I think who are a bit of a chance. So look, I do think Reflectivity can bounce back off his first up performance. He isn't a good first up performer, but he is much better second up. He has a win. Second up from 6 tries, so he's not great on a soft track though, so he'll be hoping that obviously the sting will come out of the track a little bit, maybe down to a soft 5. at the best for him, he might be coming with a bit of a chance at the $15. Other horse, Lucky for All is an interesting one. He's obviously always had a lot of ability, and he comes in his first up. I think he is looking for 2,000 metres plus, but he could probably run a bit of a bold race first up as well. He's a horse that quite likes a wet track as well, so he could be one at a bit of odds that might run a good race. But look, I'm keen on number 9 coming around here. I think just looks a horse that's quite an exciting prospect, has a lot of upside coming across in WA, and really liked his first up run in the Swan Hill Cup. So he goes on top for me, ahead of number 6, Laburnum in for second. In for third, number 4, Rivet, Delight, and in for fourth, number 3, Miami Bound. Move on to race number 6 now. It is the Aurie Star Handicap, the feature race of the day on the Flemington program. Obviously, a 1,200 metre race up the straight, and quite a decent field here to go around in it. There is 10 of them to go around, which so very good to see a decent sized field for the Aurie Star Handicap. Look at the speed map here. I'd say Yulong January, Home of the Brave, great again, and the Crusher will all roll forward. So plenty of speed on early from those horses there, and I think they'll be able to set a really nice tempo for the back markers, which I think this will be where the back markers swoop into it. I'm really counting a lot of them here, and one of them for me is he's paying big odds, and it's number 8, Trope. He obviously is a horse who's always had a stack of ability with the Hawks team. He was sold to Julius Sandu, so obviously, look, he's had his fair share of problems, and he obviously could be a little bit untapped first up here, but I think that he could run a good race. He's got plenty of class, so we know that. He's $12 here, and I think that he's just one that you probably shouldn't sleep on. I think he's got a bit of a chance. He obviously ran first up last preparation in the Oakley Plate behind Pippi and Zatori. That was a Group 1 race. Then he went and finished behind Bivouac and Loving Gabby. So he ran in 2 very hot races last time at the races in the autumn. So you got to look at that, and you got to think that a race like this is really in his keeping at the $12. So I wouldn't be surprised if he runs a big race, and I'm going to have him on top. I think he's got a very good chance. So he's on top for me, ahead of number 3, Reykjavik, who's the other one who I think's massive odds. He obviously is very good here at Flemington. He's had 7 starts at the track for 3 wins and 2 placings. He's interestingly, though, he obviously does get out first, stepping back from 1,600 down to the 1,200. So it's an interesting move by Lindsay Smith, but obviously, he doesn't make these. He wouldn't make these moves for no reason. He's a very smart trainer, and I think that maybe he's quite confident Reykjavik can have that sprint to win the race. Look, I don't think he can win, but I think he's a good chance at a place. So $4.40 about the place, $15 on the wins. Very good about a horse who is very good at this track, and he has one on a wet track before. So he's definitely got a good chance. He goes in for second for me. In for third, number 4, Widgie Turf, who he comes to this first up. He was scratched last week to run into this race here. He obviously has been saved for this. He was Group 1 place last preparation, so he's definitely got a good chance. He obviously, similarly to Reykjavik, probably gets better over further, but I'm interested to see how he can run here first up. He's very good on a wet track, so he definitely has good claims at the $6.50, and he barely runs a bad race, so you could take him each way, and with a fair bit of confidence, I would think. So he goes in for third. Then in for fourth, number 1, Sosi Bond. He obviously won first up last preparation. He broke his duck where his stats obviously doesn't show he isn't a great first up performer, but since he's come to Tom Dabinick and Ben Hayes, he's been much better. He's been a very good performer. Again, similarly, he'll be looking for a bit further, but he has won at 1,200 metres twice, so he definitely doesn't have a bad chance here first up at the $8 now. Obviously, I've left out Great Again and Home of the Brave, which are the 2 horses that are well supported in the market. I'm just not that convinced on them, really. Great Again, he's very good at this track and distance. He's very good on a wet track, so I do think he could be in the top 3 to 4, and obviously last time he was beaten by Viridine and Streets of Avalon. Streets of Avalon being a Group 1 winner. So look, there's plenty of claims for him to suggest that he'll run well. I just think that I had a few others that I just thought were better value over him. That's all it really comes down to. Similarly with Home of the Brave, he's got a good chance as well. But look, I just looked at a bit of value here in this race. I thought there was a chance where we'll see something at a big price win this race. That's just what I think. And again, similarly, Hightail, I've always had a high opinion of him. He's running to some good races last couple of starts. He's a bit out of form, but he could definitely bounce back and run back to his best, and he could be well competitive in this. And obviously, Gamekeeper, we know, is a horse who's got a stack of ability. Obviously, this is probably a kickoff run, might be running home late. I don't think it's a winning chance, but he could definitely be running home late, as well as Young January. So it's probably one of the more open Aurie Star handicaps that I've seen in a little while, and it always has been a competitive race. So really looking forward to this one on the weekend. Look, like I said, I have gone Trope because he's got a lot of ability, as we know, and if he can show up first up here, it could be a big chance at the $12. So he goes on top for me, ahead of number 3, Reykjavik for second. In for third, I've got number 4, Widgie Turf, and in for fourth, number 1, Sosi Bond. Move on to race number 7 on the program now, and we've got a 2,000 metre race here over benchmark 78 level. For the Furphy Lager is the race name, and look at the speed map here. Quite a big field to go around. I'll say Empress Selassie will go and find the top with Cadre du Nord, probably not far off them with Lord Duranto as well, but not a whole lot of pace in this one here. So some of the key chances of the race, they're not going to want to get too far back in the run because they're going to be left chasing, and I think that could be the case with Skyman. He obviously was really good first up, but I think that if he gets too far back off a slow tempo, he might not be able to roll into the race. So I've actually gone with Cadre du Nord, who I think can improve here second up. Obviously, it was a decent run here in its debut Aussie run at Moonee Valley on that occasion. He was beaten by Silent Command. Only narrowly, he was really running home nicely on that occasion. I think he's got a good chance here, stepping from 1,528 metres up to the 2,000. I think he'll be much better suited at this distance range. He's obviously well bred. He's by forefront, Warfront, and out of Dynamic Feature dam, and obviously bred to get out of this distance. So I think he can run well here for second up, and I think it'll be hard to beat. I think Ben Mellon will roll him up in behind the speed, and that might just be the trick that wins him the race. So he goes on top for me. And at number 5, Skyman, he went around at massive odds at Caulfield first up here in Australia. He was absolutely terrific. Looks a very exciting prospect. He was a good winner there on that occasion. Obviously, he's going to get better, step out 2,000 metres. Just think that off maybe the slow tempo, if he gets that far back again, I'm not sure he's going to be able to roll into the race like he did last start and get over the top of him. So he goes in for second for me. I just think he's a bit short of the Charles 80. In for third, I've got number 12, Empress Selassie, who really, I mean, he was beaten by Skyman by 2.3 lengths, and he gets a bit of he doesn't look. He goes up by 2 kilos, and Skyman goes up. What's he go up? He goes up 2 kilos as well. So they stay level on weights. So hard to suggest that he'll turn the tables. But the fact he's going to get a good run out in front again, Damien Lade in the saddle, perhaps a good place bet here at the $5.50. I think he's a good price to potentially run a place. So he goes in for third for me. And then for fourth, number 10, De Niro, he's a very untapped horse. He's got a lot of ability. He obviously was in that Skyman race last time out, but I think he'll be much better suited coming back on a wet track and getting the open space of Flemington to wind up, because his win at Sandown 2 starts ago was just that. He was able to get plenty of time to get through his work and wind up, and I think if he can do that here again at Flemington, he can bounce back, and he's a good price at $7 as well. Kentucky Tornado, I could see him improving second up. He's obviously a decent stayer, and obviously he probably is looking for even further. I think he's looking for 2,400 metres. No, he hasn't had any wins under 2,200, so perhaps place chance at best. Stealthy Lucas, look, he's a big one at odds as well. I think he can improve third up here coming on a wet track, so he might be one to watch out for coming out of that Tavi Run and Reserve Street race. So few chances here, and that's why I've looked around Skyman. I've gone with Cadre du Nord on top for me. At number 5, Skyman in for second. In for third, number 12, Empress Selassie. And in for fourth, I've got number 10, De Niro. Moving on to race number 8 in the program now. It's the Farewell to Rob Gayland, benchmark 90. Gaylard, 1,000 metre race here, so up the straight again. Look at the speed map here. I think there'll be a fair bit of tempo in this race. Snitzcraft and Mr. Mogul roll forward. Elite Legacy will probably be up on the speed without contesting the lead. Mr. Moneybags will be close enough, and as was Chicago Cub. And I think Chicago Cub's going to be hard to beat here first up. I'm excited to see how he can go. Fresh here, he obviously comes in this. He's got a terrific record at the track. He's had 4 starts at Flemington for 3 wins. He's had 3 starts at this distance for 2 wins and a placing. So I think he can run a really good race first up here. He has won on a heavy track before. He was unplaced on a soft track effort, but I think that he can run well enough first up here. He's an exciting prospect, and I'm very keen to see him first up. Think he can win. He goes in on top for me at $5.50. Ahead of Octane, who comes across from South Australia. Now, I've been a big fan of this horse for a long, long time. I'm excited to see him come here to Victoria and run in a decent race here at Flemington. So he's a very big chance. He's got a lot of ability. Last time he only just got the job done at $1.55, but look, he's got a stack of ability, and I think that he can definitely win this race. So $2.80 just a little bit short for me. It's a very competitive field, and I want to see him. Look, I have got confidence he'll run well. I just couldn't take him at the $2.80 personally. I think if he gets out beyond the $3 mark, maybe $3.50, I could probably entertain having a good go at him, because he's got a stack of abilities in good form, and obviously comes across here from South Australia to be competitive, and often bring him across unless they've got a good chance. So he goes in for second. Over third, number 12, Rock Profit, I thought was a little bit of overs here. Finished second, Wilmot Pass last night, who was a very good thing beaten last week at Mooney Valley at $2.10. She was extremely unlucky. She got held up on the fence, just had no luck at all. She hit the line well, so I still think that form's really good. So Rock Profit goes in for second here for me at the $9. Looks a nice price. And then even fourth, I've got number 11, Sword of Mercy, is in a fair bit of form at the moment. Finished second last round at Caulfield behind She's a Thief. I think that's decent enough form line. She's a Thief's obviously flying at the moment, and she's very good through the wet conditions here, Sword of Mercy. So I think she could run a good race as well at the $10. Other chances, look, Elite Lexi, he's absolutely flying at the moment for the Noonan team, and he was a really good winner last time at Sandown. I just think that it's a big step up in grade for him now. He obviously, like I said, is a horse in form, but he's going to have to show it here first up. Mr. Mogul's another one who's got a good chance as well. Was really good finishing second last time behind Bumper Blast. Bumper Blasting's got plenty of ability, so again, a horse that brings in a little bit of a different form line, could run a good race at the 850. But look, I'm very keen on number 2, Chicago Cub here. Think I can win first up, and I'm going to be with him tomorrow ahead of number 6, Octane, who I'm very wary of. I love that horse. He's a very big talent, and he can run a big, bold race tomorrow at the $2.80. In for third, number 12, Rock Profit. In for fourth, number 11, Sword of Mercy. I'll move on to the final race of the program, and it is the Ruberock Benchmark 70, 1410 metre race here. Look at the speed map for this one here. Very big field for this race here, so I'm really looking forward to this one. McAvoy's my mate. Sunday Prey, Satori off the inside barrier, roll forward onto the speed. I'd suggest that Shush won't be too far off them. Perhaps Lord Markle and Antagonise will be about midfield. I'd suggest as well, but Pembroke Castle. So, look, very competitive race here, and I think there's a fair bit of value to be found in it as well. And I've landed it with number 3, Satori, who I was with first up, and he so nearly, he just got caught a little bit behind, and Good Yarn just skipped away and won that race nicely there on that occasion. He's obviously had good first up form. He comes in this now second up. I still think he'll run a bold race. He's very good on wet tracks. He's had 5 starts for a win and 4 placings. So I think $18 bet as well over the odds. I'm going to have him on top as each way prospect. Ahead of number 7, Savvy Lad, who very excited to see how he goes second up. I obviously did mention that he had a good chance first up behind Mystery Shot in Wicklow Town. He ran a good race there on that occasion at the decent odds of $21. He comes in at $4.80 here, so much shorter, but he's got plenty of upside, and I think he can run well second up here. So he's probably the one to beat. In for second. In for third, I've got number 4, Honourable Mention, who won pretty well in the synthetic last night. Now has to come obviously onto the turf track again and perform, but I really like that win there by Honourable Mention. He rounded them up pretty nicely and won with a fair bit of style. He goes from benchmark 64 up to 70, obviously, so he steps up in grade, but I think he can run a good race. $15, good price about him, so he goes in for second. And then in for fourth, he goes in for third. And then in for fourth, I've got number 15, Shush, who I think can bounce back. And off the third last time out was really much of an improved effort behind Rich Hips and Chassis. I think that's a very nice form race. And I think she can run a good race here again. She was definitely got a good chance in this race here at the $8.50. Antagonise is another one that I'm pretty keen on second up here. Probably look for a little bit further, but definitely can see some improvement off that 1300 metre run first up. Was always going to be way too short for him. He obviously comes in this pretty well at the weights as well at 57.5. So he's got a chance $8.50 as well. So look, plenty of chance in this race. I have got landed with Satori though. He obviously has to carry a little bit of weight. Will price 3 claim brings it down to 58.5. But I just think he's going to get a good time in behind the lead. There's not a whole lot of pace in this big field, and he might be able to skip away from him and be able to get a bit of a break on him and give him something to chase. I think at $18, I'm willing to give him a go and see how he runs. The second, number 7, Savvy Lad, is obviously the big danger, and he's the horse that, from my opinion, has got the best upside in this race here. So he goes in for second. Over third, number 6, Honourable Mention, and in for fourth, number 15, Shush. Now, moving back through the program and look at my best bets of the program. Look, I was pretty keen early on in the program to have a good crack at number 4, Royal Philly, in race number 3. So it's race number 3, number 4, Royal Philly at the $4. Think I'm going to make that one of my best bets of the program. I think she's got a very good chance to win the race. Moving on, and then the other one that I'm very keen on comes in race number 5. Race number 5. Yeah, race number 5, number 9 coming around. I think it's got a very good chance as well. So that's my other best bet of the program. Race number 5, number 9 coming around. Best value players of the meeting. Pretty keen in race number 4 to go with Novatia. So it's race 4, number 5, Novatia at the $10. I think it's one of my best value bets of the program. And the other one that I'm pretty keen on comes in race number 9, so final race of the program. I think that Satori's a bit of value here at the $18, so he's going to be one of the best value bet of the program. It's race number 9, number 3, Satori. So thank you so much for tuning in to another Saturday racing preview at Flemington. Obviously, like I said, if you haven't already done so, go and check me out on social media. C-Lane_Racing Tips on Facebook, on Instagram, and C-Lane Racing Tips on Facebook. Obviously, subscribe if you're new here. I'd really appreciate it. Leave a like on the video and comment down below any of your thoughts ahead of tomorrow. So, massive meeting tomorrow. Spring racing's just around the corner. We're getting stuck into it now with some big horses coming back to the stables. We've seen some terrific trials during the week, the likes of Nature Strip bolting in and the like. So we're really seeing those big guns starting to come back now. We've seen some good group racing. So stay tuned if you finish this video and check out my Rosehill meeting to come. Obviously, a very good meeting there as well that we get stuck into. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the race tomorrow. All the best. Stay safe. And thank you for tuning in.